Coming up, residents on Grand Bahama not happy with the power company's bill increase. Illegal dumping a major challenge for one community. And an Abaco businessman says the relocation of Marsh Harbour is not up for discussion. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Rolf-Arkeson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping the news tonight, the pending increase in the cost of electricity come April 1st is not sitting well with some consumers on Grand Bahama. They contend that this island is still in recovery mode, and the decision by the Grand Bahama Port Authority to approve such a hike puts Grand Bahama at a further disadvantage.
Where you living when you can't see what your people are going through? What's happening with that? Where's the compassion?
Where is the compassion, says this resident who is outraged about the increase in power bills come April 1st. Other Grand Bahamians say they were left in shock when the announcement was made by the Grand Bahama Port Authority that approval was given to implement a storm recovery and stabilization charge.
Simply because we've yet to recover. Some of us are not even living at home. Some of our powers are not even on, my own included. And so to now increase the power bill is an insult to me who's trying to recover.
We are at a situation right now where we need economic recovery, not economic burden. And power is a necessity. And so these people need to factor all that in. I'm quite sure they are looking at profit margin. They ain't losing anything. So they should rethink that.
We can't afford that. That's bad. We can't afford it. Because, some people don't have a job. And because of the storm, a lot of places get damaged. We can't afford it. So that's no for me.
We're still paying for salt water. And now we have to pay on the top of that, a hiked power bill. That is too much for the Grand Bahamas economy.
For Anika Johnson, a veteran insurance professional, she says this comes as no surprise, adding that an increase was bound to happen.
Insurance does, I'm talking from a personal perspective when I address this, insurance does cover that, but insurance doesn't cover 100% of the loss or 100% of the risk. And there are some things that are specifically excluded. So though some persons may have had insurance, there may be some limitations as to what they could have claimed for. I can't speak to the power company's policy, but I know that most likely they would have had a deductible, which they would have had to have met.
For the average residential customer, you will pay an additional $7 on your bills, and for the average business customer, around $24.
No matter where you come from, it's still too much. I can't afford it. I don't know about other people, but I can't afford it.
You're looking at everybody thinking that $7 may not be a lot. $7 is a lot for somebody like me, for example, who had to rebuild. $7 is a lot for a family that's still struggling with a blue top on their roof.
You don't want any increase in anything, but life happens. Do you think that people want to pay increase in insurance after a storm when some persons weren't affected and some were? Insurance is a pool, so everyone has to participate in the loss, and I think this is how we're going to classify this particular increase in the power.
Because if you already have insurance to cover it, then why tax the people more?
I think it's double dipping. I'm sorry. They should not bring those charges on to the customers.
No, they're not. It's not a hardball thing for them. It's about profit and profit margin. That's all they're focusing on.
Some say enough is enough and the government must step in.
I think government should have been involved in that decision before it was made and do something about it, because you keep taxing. I mean, you just keep taxing us. What do we have left? Dorian took almost everything. What do we have left?
Should have regulations to address things like this.
Well, the regulator, the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
No, somebody need to be accountable. To every organization like that need to be accountable to somebody. You can't self-govern at the expense of the population.
If it's a decision where the regulators have already given them the approval, then what are we to do? We all are just going to have to eventually, just like how we did with VAT, fall in line and pay what we have to pay.
In other news, residents in a community in the Freeport area speaking out about a vexing issue that could pose a threat to the environment and the well-being of those living in that neighborhood. Megan Shepard explains.
Stop littering. Stop being nasty. Okay, this our country. This is our environment that we destroy.
Time and time again, concerned residents speak out about a vexing issue that continues to bring down the quality of living in communities across the island. And now a resident in the Carvel Beach area, Kyle Weish, is speaking out about the continuous dumping of household appliances and everyday trash in his community. He says the trash was removed several times, but the culprits persist.
It's as if every time it is cleaned up the next day or the day after that. And you know how you have people that pass through. They probably just had lunch, Kentucky or Burger King. And instead of now holding those garbage or that dirt inside their car until they reach a garbage receptacle or garbage tin, they pass through the car and just throw it on the ground. I mean, that don't make no sense. If you go in someplace, there's got to be a garbage where you're going. Hold your thing in the car until you reach where you're going and throw it in the garbage.
Weish says that Bahamians must take pride in their environment and be appreciative of our Bahama land.
What we have is we have a paradise. We have like heaven on earth living right here. But what we do is we destroy it. And we look at the foreigners and we complain about the foreigners. We talk about they come in here and they're taking up all of this and they're making more money and they're living better than us. But this isn't foreigners doing this. This is Bahamians who are doing this. Okay? The foreigners actually respect this place. They actually look at this and they say, you know what? Bahamians don't even know what they got. The Bahamians destroying their own environment, but they come here and they appreciate what we got.
Now, the outraged resident says he believes that more preventative measures are needed throughout the area and that the laws need to be strictly enforced.
We try to be more vigilant and we try to see if we can catch someone actually doing it so we can report it to the authorities. But then there are preventative measures that can be put in place. We have one light there and we have another light that used to be on the corner prior to Dorian. Now when Dorian came, the light left. The light was blown on and it was never replaced. Now, if we could have put that light back and we could put another light in between these two, but we need to put a camera and we need to put up deterrence to make people see that we're not going to tolerate this, and if you do it, you're going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Because I know that there are laws on the books against littering.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Megan. Well, a community leader on the island of Abaco vocal about the question as to whether or not Marsh Harbour, Abaco, should be relocated. This coming after the question was put to the Minister of State for the Disaster Reconstruction by the media last week. Tonight, Pastor Silbert Mills says that the very notion of relocation is offensive to residents in that community. Community leader, businessman, and pastor in Abaco, Silbert Mills says a mere assertion of a relocation of Marsh Harbour is offensive if it is said in the media before being brought to the residents of that community.
I encourage those people who are going to be making decisions, especially landmark decisions as relocating or the thought of relocating a community, to meet with us as stakeholders before you even go public with that, to express that. The very expression of that without talking to us in Abaco, in my view, is really insulting to us in every respect of your imagination.
Here is his recommendation.
I agree with the minister that it's good to move the warehouse from the waterfront. Move the warehouse from the waterfront. That makes a lot of sense. That he can do that. But to move the town is not a good idea.
But Mills admits that tremendous efforts are being made in the cleanup process, but he admonishes the residents to be patient.
That seems to have gone well. But I want to say to my friends, I am here in Florida now, and I'm meeting with people who were in Mexico City where they had a similar storm almost 2 years ago. This gentleman who I'm having lunch with now said Mexico City is still cleaning up. And that is almost 2 years later. This cleanup effort is going to take a long time. The rebuilding effort is going to take a long time.
He says they're working hard on getting the island back to where it used to be. But Mills believes that this will take years.
We have about 30 roofs that we have under contract for local contractors that they're paying for and repairing at their expense. Then you have the other group called CORE that said they have a commitment and funding to do the interior of 300 houses that we're going to be working with. So there is stuff going on. We are on the ground, and we will be working hand in hand with the NGOs and with the Disaster Reconstruction Authority to make sure we get the best that is going to be possible for Abaco. There is some stuff that's happening. We're just taking our time and making sure that it trickles down to those who have the needs.
Now, the Minister of State for Disaster addressed these concerns this past Friday, and he made it absolutely clear that there is no recommendation by the government at this time, adding that the relocation of Marsh Harbour would not and could not be done without widespread consultation and input from the people of that community first. Members of the Coral Reef Estate Subdivision say recent developments prove that once united, you can achieve results. This after they were able to affect change as it relates to a safety concern impacting that community. They're now calling for greater involvement as they seek to address another safety issue. Megan Shepard reports.
Members of the Coral Reef Neighborhood Watch Association coming together to bring about change to a vexing and potentially dangerous traffic issue in their neighborhood. While excessive speed remains an issue, they have had some success in addressing another vexing issue. A constant overflow of traffic near a business establishment created a safety concern as well for that community. But President of the Neighborhood Watch Association, Patrick Ferguson, says they are thankful that the issue has been resolved.
We saw that yesterday it was corrected by the authorities. They put up the sign because the problem is that when the residents are exiting Coral Reef, their vehicles park on the north side of the road and our residents cannot see to come out safely. They'll have to come so far into the main street that we cause accidents and people get hurt. So we had to agitate to have this problem change. So we just want to thank this opportunity right now to thank all of the authorities who made it possible.
Resident Calliope Whitfield adding that the association continues to work on other issues throughout the community. She is calling for more residents to get involved.
As a neighborhood watch group, we're moving forward to continue to do things to better our neighborhood. And another great concern of ours is lighting within our neighborhood. And as Mr. Ferguson also said, the potholes in the road, they need to be repaved and not patched, because every time they're patched, after a slew of rainfall, the patches open back into potholes. And as he said, there is a lot of things that we're on streaming to better our neighborhood, and we want the neighborhood to know that there is strength in numbers.
Now, for many years, residents have witnessed a number of traffic accidents at the junction of Coral Road and Ponce de Leon Drive. They are continuing the appeal for a roundabout or stoplight at that location. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Coming up, she says natural hair is beautiful. We will hear from this young stylist when we return.